All right, good morning, students. Sorry I had to be gone today, but there's not much I could do about it. So I've made this video to help guide you through editing your own paper. So you should have up on your screen your rough draft in another tab, and then kind of have this video going while you go back and forth editing your paper. I also have next to me that checklist that I gave you last class. So I'm going to kind of pick out some important things from that checklist that I want to make sure that you have. So please pause this video whenever you need to. You can go back. You can, do whatever you want with this video, okay? But you need to go through this entire video. I'm going to be giving you a quiz at the end that you'll have to take to prove to me that you went through this entire video and that you edited your own paper. So I am going to hold you accountable for this because it's that important. So the first thing we want to look at when you're editing your paper is the stuff that we spent time doing last class, which is looking at the formatting of your paper. So we want to make sure that it's MLA formatted for a proper essay. You want to make sure and always do that. So you need to have your pages numbered. You want to make sure that your title is what we set it up as last class, which is your last name _ arg essay, because you're going to be turning this in and I want to see that that's the name it's under, okay? The other thing is everything is in Times New Roman font, okay? Now I'm going to have to fix something on my paper here because it is not all Times New Roman font, but this part is because that's what was generated from the MLA report that I generated with you in class. So you have your name here, your teacher's name, literature and composition, spell it all out, don't be lazy, 9, and then the due date. So for some of you it might be different, but it should be the 7th of January for a day at least. And then your title. Make note that your title, the first letter in every word, is capitalized. This bugs me to no end when people do not have their titles capitalized properly. So go ahead and do that now. Pause if you need to make any changes with that stuff. Now, because I copy and pasted my document my paper from another document, I noticed that my font here is Arial, but up here it's Times New Roman. So I want to make sure that I get everything in the proper font. So I'm just going to take a minute to do the old switcheroo here, get this in Times New Roman. It is also not in size 12 for some reason, so I'm going to bump it up to size 12. Okay, the next thing you want to do if you haven't done this already is unhighlight things. So I'm going to unhighlight my claim. I'm going to get rid of any notes that were left over from my outline that are messing with my kind of the way my paper looks. So now see, just by doing that, my paper looks proper. So I just have the 3 paragraphs that I wrote originally here to show you kind of what it should look like and what you need to be doing. So, okay, format's looking pretty good. That's step 1. Okay, so your paper should look like this by the end of it. So there shouldn't be any highlighted stuff or anything standing out other than just paragraphs. So that's number 1, was formatting. Number 2, we want to focus on your thesis. So your thesis falls, it's the last sentence in your introduction paragraph, and it should answer that original question that popped up on your blend space. And it's what your paper is all about. So it's super important that you tell the reader what your paper is about here and why they should read on, okay? So I took the question, the original question was, does suffering make us stronger and lead to success? So I turned that into a statement by saying suffering does allow an individual to grow and ultimately succeed because you really want to make sure you have this because there, okay? Because that's what's going to lead into your reasons. So my first reason is because we learn through hardship. My second reason is because we become stronger in the process, and we become more flexible is my third reason. Okay, so I have 3 reasons embedded there, and I'm going to bump each of these reasons out and talk about them more thoroughly in each of my body paragraphs. But to start, you want to let the reader know, this is what I believe, and this is why I believe it. Okay, so you want to seem like you're somebody who knows what they're talking about. Okay, so now that's going to be the basis of each of my body paragraphs. So that's your thesis. Please, please, please make sure it includes the reasons why you think what you think. Okay, otherwise I'm going to ding you pretty heavily on that. Okay, That's your thesis. That's all I'm going to say about it. We've talked about it a lot, a lot, a lot. So we're going to move on. One thing that I haven't talked so much about, but you did see it in the sample essays that you analyzed a while back, is that it's really helpful for the reader as they're reading through your paper if you have transition words in your body paragraphs. And that's something I don't have. So I thought about, maybe I don't know what a transition word is. Well, guess what? I Googled it, okay? And they have all these examples of what transition words are. So I think really basic ones are firstly, second, third, as a matter of fact, furthermore. So those are all really common transition words. So I'm going to incorporate those into my essay. Now, this paragraph here, this first one I had, and this second one were both on the same topic. They were on my kind of first main point. So I'm actually, and this is the editing process, I think I should probably lead with this second paragraph and make it my first. So I'm actually going to flip-flop. Oh, and then it didn't format correctly. That's easy to fix. Okay, so I'm going to flip-flop this, and I'm actually going to add a transition word in there. First, we learn from our hardships in life, which force us to reevaluate. So I'm tipping the reader off that that's the topic I wanted to talk about first. See that? Learn from hardship, learn from hardship. Cool. So I have that done. My transition is done for that paragraph. Because this second body paragraph kind of builds off of what I talked about in the first, I'm going to say, as an example, my dad was born, blah, 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 and then I'm going to tell his story because it supports what I talked about in the previous paragraph. So I could have said, furthermore, I could have used, by the same token, yeah, so there are several different ones I could have used there. Okay, so that's a transition. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Sometimes Google is the best way to learn stuff. And we didn't spend a lot of time on this in class, so really, I'm telling you, Google's great. Okay, so those are transitions. Make sure you go through and that your body paragraphs have those. It makes for a stronger paper. Okay, next up, the third thing we want to look at, and you can pause it here if you need to go back and add transitions. The next thing we want to look at is organization of your paper, so that you have a clear introduction paragraph that has, let's say, 4 to 5 sentences, that your body paragraphs, each body paragraph focuses on just one topic at a time, so it's not a jumbled mess. And I don't have one, but you want to make sure and have a clear conclusion, okay? So those are the components of an essay. You've done this before. You know the drill. Okay, so make sure your essay is organized. Your conclusion only needs to be about 3 sentences. It can be more, but I think 3 would be just fine. And it's really just where you wrap up your paper. You restate in a different way what you said in your claim. So you just reinforce that that's what you talked about and this is why you think what you think. And then you just kind of leave the reader with something to think about. So I might, in my conclusion, circle back to this original quote that I started with, and then just talk about how, you know, my body paragraphs kind of helped prove that that quote is valid and true. Okay, we talked about organization. Pause it here if you need to go through and organize your essay. Number 4, fourth topic we're going to talk about is these body paragraphs. So this body paragraph of mine is really logic heavy. I have a psychologist that I cite from an article that I read. He wrote a book. I tell the book he wrote. So I'm building my credibility here. I'm saying this guy is a professional. He's written books on this subject. I have a quote from him. It's all very official. So you first want to have a kind of topic sentence. So we learn from hardship. Okay, so that's my topic sentence. And then I provide evidence that that is true. So first up is your topic. The second part is providing your evidence, which this serves as my evidence. I have the guy's name, the book he wrote, his quote, which I got from source 2 on BlendSpace. That's how I'm citing who I got it from. And then I go into analyzing what he talked about and kind of explaining why it is that I believe this guy and I agree with him and how it relates to everything that I'm talking about. So you want to make sure that your body paragraphs follow that same format. Topic sentence, where you introduce what you're going to talk about, you provide your evidence, and then you explain why it matters. So make sure that your body paragraphs each follow. Where I see people mess up the most is in this part here, so explaining why it matters. So make sure you take the time to go through and fix that if that's something that you're struggling with. And pause it here if you need to. Last up is grammar, punctuation, spelling, all that kind of good stuff. So this is one thing we really struggle with. It's hard to know sometimes when you're supposed to capitalize things, but generally, if it's a person's name, if it's a book that they've written, see how it's capitalized there, and it's in italics because it's a book. So you need to know when to do that. Certainly if it's the beginning of a sentence, capitalize it. I feel like grammar is something that's a bit more difficult, and the best way to know when to add in a comma or something like that is to read it out loud. And if you feel like there's a natural pause as you're reading a sentence out loud, that probably means there's a comma that goes there. So this is just a matter of you slowing down enough to take the time and read through your paper and make sure there are no spelling mistakes. Make sure you've capitalized the things you need to capitalize. If you have a question about, I don't know if that's supposed to be capitalized, guess what? Use Google. You can Google, is America capitalized? Say I had a question about that. Capitalized nouns that constitute, it says America's capitalized, so yep, I know it needs to be capitalized. Okay, I capitalized it, good. See, so if you have questions like that, use the internet. It can be for good, okay? All right. Last thing I'll say is I'll go back to this quote here that I have. See how I didn't just start my sentence with the quote. I kind of worked it in. So the author states, and then I work into the quote. So you want to be doing that as well. If you're using quotes from other people, and definitely always put them in these little, use the quotation marks if you're using words that someone else has said. Otherwise it's plagiarism and you'll get an F for it. Okay, so these little quotes here really just it gives the person who said it credit, and you have to use those if you want to use somebody else's words word for word. And then please note that I put in parentheses after the source that I got it from off of Blendspace. You'll need to do the same thing. If you got your source from something other than the Blendspace sources I provided you, you will need to tell me at the bottom of your paper, you'll need to have a works cited that tells me where you got it from. Okay, so it's really easy if you go to easybib.com. You can just copy and paste the URL of the internet site you got it from, and it'll format it for you in MLA format properly. So you can just do that. Okay, so I'm not going to take a lot of time to explain to you how to properly format in Works Cited for this particular paper. Okay, so once this is all good and done, you will take your quiz on this video, and then you can go ahead and submit your paper if it's ready to go on Google Classroom. I've created an assignment for you, and you can call it good with this assignment. If you need more time, I will accept these papers through Sunday of this weekend, but I would say the sooner the better. If you need more time though to make it perfect, that's fine with me. All right, thanks guys, have a good day.